It is overtime here again at Old Favorite Friday, where we talk about classic, incredible beers that we don't think get the love and the attention that they deserve. Beers that kind of turned us on to craft beer in the first place. We fell in love with. They're ubiquitous, and sometimes we don't have the appreciation, and that's a shame. So we want to highlight that. And people will ask me, "You've been doing this for over 2 years. Aren't you going to run out of beers eventually?" And beers like this are proof that we're not running out of any beers anytime soon, because 420 by SweetWater is one of the beers that got so many people involved in the craft beer business, but also was the first exposure to so many people of craft beer in general, and we're just getting into it now. So there's lots and lots of beers in the future for us to do. In regards to this beer, this is 420 by SweetWater. Like I said, it is an extra pale ale. It's a beer that for years and years, people in my circle always referred to this as an IPA. And even when I was first drinking this beer, maybe I just was not a strong reader. I would refer to it as an IPA, but it is not an IPA. It is extra pale ale. For those of you who don't know, pale ales in general, everyone thinks of the classic example of that is something like Sierra Nevada Pale Ale, which we've absolutely done for Old Favorite Friday. Not as heavy, not as hoppy, and not as bitter as the traditional American style IPA or a West Coast style IPA. Extra Pale Ale is a little bit nebulous in what that means. I could not find a beer judge certification a description of what an extra pale ale is. I actually had to look it up. I've been in this business a long time, and I never really looked into what it makes an extra pale ale versus a pale ale. The best description I can get is a little bit more malty, a little more pale malt, and you can kind of see that in the color. We've got a really nice golden color here that is a little richer than what I would traditionally see in a pale ale. The flavor profile is a West Coast style hop profile on this. It's Cascade and Centennial as far as the hops goes. I'm getting some pininess, some resinous. I'm getting a little bit of that pithy grapefruit, but it's not over the top. There is a nice malt profile here that I really enjoy in IPAs. I know they've fallen out of fashion. It's either all tropical fruit, juiciness, and just, malt has nothing to do with the equation anymore. I like a little more of a malt profile in my IPAs, my pale ales, my extra pale ales. So this beer is really right up my alley. It's an excellent beer. These guys have been around since 1997. This beer has been around since 1997. This was a brewery that many, many people were familiar with that had some real distribution throughout the country before very many craft breweries were doing it. And you can see it in kind of the penetration of the markets and how many people recognize this beer. One of the things that I first noticed, and this is not the first time I ever saw craft beer on TV. It's certainly not, so don't take my gospel truth for this. But the first time I ever saw this and recognized it was I saw SweetWater cases in one of the early episodes of The Walking Dead, which is also set in Georgia and Atlanta, I believe. And I saw that on TV, and I was like, "Oh my God, craft beer is on TV!" They could use a Budweiser case, but they used something that would have been local to that area. I thought that was like the coolest thing because that was many years ago, and I was still kind of young in the industry then, and it was nice to see that kind of representation. So, and it has to be. I know they were going for a local thing, but this is a beer that was very, very popular for people all over the country, even at that time. 420 is kind of a staple when it comes to that. I think that this beer is really, really accessible. And a lot of people are scared of IPAs, pale ales, things of that nature because they think they're going to be too bitter. This beer has the right amount of bitterness. As I said, it has a nice malt balance to it. It still really holds up as a classic introductory beer, for the lack of a better term, of people that are getting into craft beer. And then it also holds up for people like myself who have been in the industry for 15 years and are going for a classic flavor profile that ticks all the boxes, gives you, layered kind of hop flavor, a nice presence of bitterness, a nice malt flavor. And it's really, really well rounded, and you can enjoy this at any time of the day with many, many different kinds of foods, and it's just a great beer, right? And SweetWater in general, they've been around for a long time, as I said. They make great beer in general, so if you don't have this beer available to you, or maybe you have another beer from them, I think you'd be doing yourself a disservice if you didn't check it out. I was just talking about beers, food pairings and things of that nature. I actually went to the SweetWater website because I was just interested. What do they pair this beer with? Some breweries that have kitchens will do that. Some won't. They just went with a double bacon cheeseburger. They said this is the thing that they would recommend. Pale ales, traditionally, people talk about that, kind of grilled meats and burgers, things of that nature. When I was drinking this is kind of esoteric kind of thing, maybe a regional thing. But a buddy of mine, Mike Urevich, he lived in Philadelphia for a while, and he introduced me to crab fries for the first time, which is just French fries with Old Bay seasoning. I might be missing an ingredient, but that's what I understand crab fries to be. And I think that if you got a double cheeseburger with some crab fries, Old Bay seasoning with this flavor profile, I think would be absolutely fantastic together. And I've got a few cans over here, and I can get my hands on some French fries, and I've got plenty of Old Bay, so I'll probably try this out for myself. And maybe not report back to you guys on it, but maybe you can report back to me whether or not you went and tried some of these pairings that I suggest with this beer, or if you just went and picked up 420 for the first time in a while because you hadn't thought about it, because there's so many options out there, and you're like, damn, this beer really is really, really good, and I can't believe I haven't picked it up in a while. Widely available all throughout grocery chains. I mean, once again, we have to appreciate the fact that incredible beers that are industry standards are just widely available, and we don't think about them as much as we should, and we should. Thank you guys for joining me. Please go around our channel, look at more videos just like this. We're also doing some straight food and beer pairings with some local restaurants that are really, really cool that you can check those videos out. Please tell me what beers you're drinking for Old Favorite Friday. It helps me pick out beers in the future, beers that I'm going to want to drink, and we'll see you next time. Cheers.